Good afternoon, folks. I'm Andrew Culberson, Department of Education, Early Childhood Development. It's 3:30, time for a SEL webinar this week. So lucky to be joined by Stacy Killam. I'll let her introduce herself as well. And today we're going to be talking about self-management. So this will be shared on the team site. You can join the teams, you can share the teams, and the slide deck will also be shared. I'll be monitoring the chat. If you have questions, I mean, at the end, by all means, we can have a brief discussion. I am recording the main session. I will try to remember to hit stop recording at the end before questions. So I thank everybody for coming today. So a little bit about myself. So I'm coming from a guidance counselor background. Social emotional learning is near and dear to my heart. I know it's a way that we can really help our young people, A, prepare them to learn, but B, just make our practice more equitable, and just help prepare our young people for a better tomorrow. So I'll let Stacy introduce herself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Stacy Killam, and currently I am teaching kindergarten at Montgomery Street School. Shout out to Montgomery staff. It's an amazing place to work. I'm coming from district office, where I spent 2 years as an education support services lead. And one of the primary focuses of my role was social emotional learning. So I'm super excited to, participate in this webinar series and continue to, teach others about the importance of SEL and helping our students acquire those important SEL skills. I have a resource background, and I've mainly worked in elementary throughout my 16-year career. I've done a little bit of everything. So I am really happy actually to be back in the classroom this year working with students again, and just watching them learn and grow. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So what are we going to do today? We're gonna start the day and our session today with a mindfulness minute. There was a question from last week, which I did say we would try to follow up on, and then we're gonna kind of just quickly review the CASEL definition and then explore self-management and from a practical lens as well. How do we achieve or help our young people achieve self-management skills and develop those in the classroom? And then we're going to share some resources with you. So to start us off, it is good practice. I mean, we just finished a busy day. I know I have, and I'm sure you have, and the day's not over. You've chosen to come and join us here at in this webinar. So I thought it would be useful to practice self-management in a just really grounding and to just slow down and just take a minute and be present in the moment. This is part of self-management. So wherever you are, if you can just be comfortable. So if it's sitting, if you're laying down watching this, that's fine. If you're standing, you might want to sit. And if you can just firmly plant your feet on the floor and just feel the floor pushing up against your feet. You can just relax your hands on your knees or your legs and allow yourself to be in the moment. We're going to do a few deep breaths together. You can leave your eyes open. You can close your eyes. It's whatever you're comfortable with. We're going to breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, but we're going to hold that breath. And we're going to acknowledge those oxygen molecules as they flow through and into our lungs. So deep breath in. Slowly release. Just notice how that makes you feel, how it can begin to calm you down, slow things down. Let's do that again. And breathe out. One more time. And out. I mean, it doesn't take much, right? It's just a way that we can slow things down. We can do this with our students too. We can do this online, we can do this face-to-face, but preparing ourselves to be receptive to whatever information we're going to take. Not going a million miles a minute, because we often do. So managing our own pace, and just recognizing that ultimately we are in control of that. So thank you for kind of going through that process. We had a question last week and just wanted to follow up on that, and it was really around developmentally appropriate SEL. Like, what does that look like? And so it was really nice when Stacy and I were talking about this. Like, what does that look like? Because as we looked on the web and through Castle's website, there are some assessments that we can get to find out, like, where are your students, where are your staff, but it was a challenge to find what was developmentally appropriate. We did have one participant last week share a document. I looked at it, and then Stacy and I in our conversation kind of came to, well, a lot of those I can statements, developmentally appropriate I can statements, have some connections to SEL. So I think throwing this up and just showing you the language in our global competencies here in New Brunswick does mirror the social emotional learning language, and we have developmentally appropriate statements that connect to those. But then, Stacey, perhaps you can just share a little bit about how you kind of deal with this
Yeah.
within your own practice.
So for me, I look at it as the curriculum document. Obviously, the curriculum document is not a one size fits all. We have to evaluate our students' strengths. We find out, where they need some refinement, and then we go from there. So our day is filled with teachable moments all day long. And in K-2, we have a component. It's called the exploration component, and K-2 teachers would know what that is. So obviously it's going to look different in every single classroom, but there is a global competency checklist I use. It's a formative assessment tool for exploration, and it ties in nicely with social emotional learning. And I use that when my students are engaged in the exploration component in the afternoon. I use it as a checklist, like I said, and I actually attached it for you in the file section in the Teams page for the SEL webinar. So you can find the checklist in there, and maybe it would help you as well, just to look for those global competencies where you can help strengthen your students. And basically what I do, I develop SEL skills for my students based on an individualized basis, as I kind of touched on earlier. So when two students, maybe one or two students, are hands-on the playground, then I look at that teachable moment and I think, okay, so what kind of SEL skills do they need in this moment? So that tells me maybe they need some communication skills, maybe they need to work on personal space and those kinds of things. Now, K-2, I have a lot of kids who like to tattletale on each other. So that gives me important information as a teacher and informs what kind of SEL skills they may need. So maybe I need to teach, those students problem solving skills, communication skills, those kinds of things. So, if someone's using unkind words in the classroom, out in the playground, then, that informs the instruction that I need to give them as far as SEL. Let's talk about filling buckets and manners and all of those things. So that's kind of how I instruct my students in SEL. They give me the information that I need to help them, and then I help them strengthen their skills and give them what they need.
So I mean, it's a great. And the best way to do it is by bolstering your own understanding of SEL, because then those teachable moments, right? Like, I mean, you've spent years actually, researching, developing PL, doing things like that at district office, Stacy. So seeing those and recognizing, just because you've been immersed in it, it does become easier, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's I think part of this webinar series and part of what we're trying to do is just to help people you know, learn more about SEL, but then it just becomes easier. It just becomes part of your practice as we develop that understanding, and what that looks like in our own classrooms, and to meet the needs, right? And this is what we want to do.
Yeah.
So just a quick refresher.
Yes. So according to Castle, here's the definition of SEL. It's an integral part of education and human development. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. Feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain supportive relationships, and make responsible and caring decisions. So essentially, that's what SEL is. And when people ask me, what is SEL? I always say basically SEL is everything you need to succeed in life beyond the curriculum. That's like a nutshell explanation, definition of what SEL is. It's really important. So then we can go on and explore it further. SEL advances educational equity and excellence through authentic school, family, community partnerships, which is vital to have that partnership, to establish learning environments and experiences that feature trusting and collaborative relationships, rigorous and meaningful curriculum instruction, and ongoing evaluation. SEL can help address various forms of inequity and empower young people and adults to co-create thriving schools and contribute to safe, healthy, and just communities.
So I like to put this up as well, just to, I mean, not only show the wheel and the Castle's framework, but also that how and why, and again, pulling it back to the middle part of the how and strengthening that adult SEL. And so we need to be able to do that before we can promote SEL with our young people. And then once we're there, then we start collecting the data and bringing in those pieces about, it's not about just where we are, but where are our gaps and where do we need to be. And so it's a process and it's an evolution, and it's not a one-off. And so just recognizing that the big piece is, it's the foundational piece, is how we're going to do this. And when we do that, we have those short-term, long-term, and intermediate benefits that are going to not just help our students in the classroom, they're going to help them beyond, like the curriculum, like Stacy was saying. It's about all those other pieces, and SEL is just so integral. So just to again, to focus in on the Castle's framework and their wheel, and notice that it's not just about the classrooms and the schools, but it goes beyond that into the families, caregivers, the communities. So we actually have our job is far bigger than just working with educators in the system and throughout New Brunswick, but it's about reaching into the families and communities. And so we need to be working together collectively to really push out this message of social emotional learning is something we need now and we need in the future to prepare our kids so that they have the skills to have healthy relationships, so they understand what a healthy relationship looks like, and we're promoting that really everywhere. So as we go in, dive into self-management, I'll turn it over to Stacy.
Okay, so our webinar today specifically is going to focus on self-management. So what is self-management? So basically it is the ability to manage one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors effectively in different situations and to achieve goals and aspirations. This includes the capacities to delay gratification, manage stress, and feel motivation and agency to accomplish personal and collective goals. So the next few slides are going to explore the bullets listed below. So managing emotions, identifying using stress management strategies, exhibiting self-discipline, self-motivation, setting personal and collective goals, using planning organizational skills, showing the courage to take initiative, demonstrating personal and collective agency. So those are things we're going to explore coming up. So the first thing we're going to look at is managing one's emotions. So there are so many ways we can do this. For me personally, in my classroom, I have a calming area for students. So this is a place where they can go to self-regulate when those emotions get so big that, you know, they need a place to calm down. I find in my experience, and you'll probably agree, that managing emotions sometimes takes a while to develop those skills. Like to teach a child to self-regulate often takes quite a bit of time. So having a visual sometimes helps with the steps. And as you can see the visual on your screen here, this is a great one. The student could have one at their desk, wherever they're sitting. So when they're actually, you know, experiencing a meltdown or, you know, whatever that looks like, they could refer to this visual. But I find in the moment that students often experience difficulty transferring those skills. So it's really important in helping students develop self-regulation skills to teach them when they're at baseline. So obviously you're not going to teach them how to manage their emotions when they're having a meltdown. You're going to want to do that at baseline. So I just thought maybe I'd share a couple of resources with you that I like to use. So this one is a great one. It's When My Worries Get Too Big. And remember, I'm Kay. So this is great. It's a relaxation book for children who live with anxiety. So, you know, this could be great for, I'd say, K to 5. The author is Carrie Dunn Buren, and we reference the references at the end. So you'll see them. And another great one is the 5-point scale. You might be familiar with that. And Zones of Regulation is another one. Great resource.
So we're talking about identifying, like the big piece for our young people, it's about being explicit. Like we need to give them the language, help them identify, because we can't manage what we don't know and we don't understand. So this is part of the, so this is a tool. This is one example of something that you can use. There's an app for it. Yeah, there's an app for that. And so this is a mood meter. This is created by Mark Brackett. Mark was mentioned in their last presentation on self-awareness. So Mark he's coming from Yale. He has started the Yale Ruler program, and he works at their Emotional Intelligence Center. And so with this, it's, you know, you walk in the room and as you're walking in, this could be posted by your front door, and you get kids to identify, where are you today, right? Identify your emotions, because if you can identify it, then we can come up with some strategies to deal with that. But then they have a word, right? I feel panicked. Or, you know what? I'm pretty chill today. I'm in the green zone. Well, that's great, right? So there are lots of different tools that we could use to identify. And it's about finding what works for you and works for your students in your class and your grade level. So this is one example, and like I said, it's like I think a 99-cent app, or $1.29, I think they are nowadays. So you know, this could be something that could be totally used within your class. So exhibiting. So we need to exhibit self-discipline and self-motivation. So I've got the picture of a cookie jar there, the marshmallow test. So if you're not familiar with the marshmallow test, so many years ago they did the test they used marshmallows instead of cookies, but to see if young people could wait, did they have the self-discipline to not take that marshmallow that's sitting in front of them, because if they wait, they're gonna get two. So how long can they wait the 10 minutes? And so this study was done. It was replicated, but it was adapted more recently in relationships. So there were not one child, but two. And so if they were willing to wait, each of them with a cookie in front of them, then they would get the reward at the end. And so, but it's been shown that if you can exhibit self-discipline, that the outcomes in the future are greater. Increased health is an actual outcome if you can learn to exhibit self-discipline and be self-motivated. So it's about predictors later in life by teaching these skills now. And everything we're talking about today, we cannot make the assumption that these skills, competencies, are being taught at home. And so making sure that we do take the time to do this in that hidden curriculum, that it's K to 12 and beyond. So I thought the idea of that marshmallow test, it has some really good predictors for how things will work out for these young people later on. Just wanted to talk briefly about setting personal and collective goals. This is something that we talk about often at school, but making sure that they are something that is the young people connect to. And we can start this early on. But one of the things, the tools that I would totally recommend, it depends on your grade level. So 6 to 12, I would recommend using my blueprint to record those goals. So whether they're short-term or long-term goals, they can be recorded and shared and celebrated within the My Blueprint platform, which we all have access to. And in grades 4 and 5, we have the All About Me platform as well. And so this is something that our students all have access to and our teachers all have access to. And so developing a goal like within a platform so that it's recorded and it's not just something that it's a one-off and I'm moving on, but that I'm going to revisit and I'm going to have accountability within those goals too. This is also important. And so if you're able to share those goals, it's going to be more meaningful. The act of writing it down or expressing it to somebody else is going to make that goal something that you're more apt to attain or work towards attaining at the very least. And what if you need supports? So being comfortable with the people around you to engage them, to say, hey, I'm struggling here. Can you help me out? Or on the flip side, celebrating, I met my goal, whether it's small or big, and let's celebrate together.
Okay, so let's talk about Marie Kondo. Let's talk about planning and organizational skills. So the picture that you see on the left was my classroom in August. So I'm going to be 100% transparent here with you all. So I'm in a new school, new classroom. As I said earlier, I'm coming from district office for 2 years. So this was my classroom in August on the left. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of got a little Marie Kondo inside me. This kind of sent my stress level through the roof because I thrive on organization. I love it when things flow smoothly, and it makes me feel so good when my life is organized and planned out. I love it. I just love it. I thrive on that. So you can imagine when I came in August and I saw that and I said to myself, oh my goodness, Stacy, you have 1 week to do this. So sometimes I'm sharing this with you because it starts with adults first. So we have to check our own SEL. So in that moment, when I saw the classroom, I said, okay, I've got to get my SEL in check here and get this classroom organized and in shape before, I meet my students and before I can even teach them any social emotional learning skills or, help them develop their own. I need to get mine in check. So in August, I was in a little bit of a panic, and hello, we're teaching in a pandemic right now. So I had to be kind to myself, and I would suggest the same for all of you wonderful teachers, teaching in a pandemic, and there's been so much change. So what I want to tell you is self-care is so, so important. It's really important. You can't pour from an empty bucket. So I had 1 week to get myself in check, and I did it. So on the right is my classroom right now, and that's what it looked like at the end of the week. So it only took me a week to get it organized. So I was feeling much better going into Labor Day weekend, knowing that, you know, Tuesday I was all ready for my kids. And I was feeling so much better because it was, you know, all organized and everything. But there are moments in our lives, in our career, where things are going to not go smoothly. Obviously, it's called life. So I just wanted to give you that little message today. Just be kind to yourself and practice self-care. Do what you need to do to take care of you, because you can't teach the students in front of you anything, social emotional learning, whatever it is, academic, until you take care of you first. So please, please do that. Be kind to yourself.
Those are wise words, Stacy.
Yes, thank you.
Lived experience,
important.
lived experience. That's
This is
it.
real life here. Yes. Keeping it real. So the next one, the courage to take initiative. So we thought we could use the portrait of a learner to help us to kind of show how to develop those skills in our students, how to show them to take courage or take initiative, have the courage to take initiative. So they need to have the belief and capacity to take action to make their lives better and the lives of those around them. They need to be globally competent and self-determined, autonomous, competent, related to others. So we thought we would include that in there when talking about, you know, helping our students develop those initiative skills. Yeah. So let's take a look at helping students to develop a growth mindset. It's so, so important to teach children how to persevere in challenging situations. And it's a skill that students need throughout their entire lifetime. So as teachers, we have the ability to equip our students with a growth mindset and these skills that they are going to need. So helping them develop an I can't yet attitude is crucial. So the power of yet is amazing. There's a great book by Carol Dweck in the resource section called Mindset. She's kind of like the guru with growth mindset. It's incredible. I encourage you to read that book. So I can't yet. So it helps them to develop self-confidence and a never giving up mentality. So in my K classroom, the first week of school, I heard plenty of I can't zip up my coat, I can't count to 10, I can't print that letter. Like, it was just full of I can'ts. So as their teacher, I had the opportunity to stop them and say, no, it's not I can't, it's I can't yet. So helping them foster that attitude. Maybe you can't do it today, but you will do it eventually. It will happen. So now in the classroom, all I hear is I can't yet, which is amazing. And if somebody forgets to add the yet, the other students actually encourage that child to say, no, you forgot to say yet. So that's really powerful as well, to encourage each other. That's amazing to hear. Kindergarten students say, I can't yet, is incredible. And so celebrating mistakes is also crucial. So when you can help your students view mistakes as helpful, as a way to grow, academic success comes from how students feel about the mistakes, not about how smart or motivated they are. So if you can help your students change their perspective on mistakes, you'll have a classroom full of engaged students who want to constantly improve. So a growth mindset is so imperative in the classroom. So let's take a look at demonstrating personal and collective agency. So there are several ways you can help your students foster this. In my classroom, I just recently created a kindness bulletin board. And as you know, I teach K, as I stated. So it's a really, really powerful way to help them build empathy and kindness in our classroom. And you could even do this school-wide, but I love this for a classroom. So in my K classroom, I have to help them write, obviously, because they're not writing independently yet, but as soon as they can, they'll be writing these little tickets themselves. So I give them a gotcha ticket. So kindness is contagious, can you catch it? So anytime that I see one of my students exhibiting kindness in any way, helping others, I see it all the time in my classroom, which is awesome. I give them this little ticket and I put it on the bulletin board that you see in front of you. So it's a really great way, like I said, to build empathy and kindness in your classroom. And older classrooms, you can do this at any grade. Older classrooms, like in older grades, the students can actually write their own tickets so they can, help each other and catch each other in the act of kindness. So I love that. It builds the intrinsic motivation in the students, and they're looking out for, the good and the ways that people are being kind. And instead of looking for faults and negativity, they're actually focused on the good and the kindness of one another. So I really love that idea. And if you like that idea, you can also use this bulletin board. I attached the file in the file section in the Teams section of the SEL webinar series. So that's where you can find it if you are interested in, doing something like this in your classroom.
And I'd love to share that as well.
Yeah.
I know my son has come home recently with a same idea, but self-awareness, caught in the act of demonstrating self-awareness in his own class, and so that's something that he comes home, he's able to celebrate that in the class, but also to help make the parents aware at home the language that's being used within the class too. So this is
Yes,
something that we can inform our families
absolutely.
and help to spread, beyond that classroom and school SEL, but this is how we can reach out.
Yes.
So I love seeing those when they come home.
Yes.
Something else, wanted to share the idea of autonomy, and just looking at even some fairly recent data, like we look at 2018, 2019, that the level of autonomy that students feel, it's between grades 4 and 5 and then 6 to 12. I know they're lumped together, but we're seeing a decrease in the feelings of autonomy, which is going to inevitably affect their ability to feel like they can. It's going to affect their self-efficacy, and so their belief that they can do something that maybe they haven't tried before. So it is really important that we provide choice and voice for our young people to demonstrate autonomy and those SEL skills. If we're always telling them to, then it's not the same. So it's providing opportunities, and this is K through 12. So I just wanted to share that as well. So we have a few resources that you could explore. But ultimately, this journey of SEL that we're all kind of working towards, it is about enhancing your own understanding and knowledge, so then you can better support the others in your building. It's the same ideas of on the airplane, that we're told to put on that oxygen mask first before we help the people beside us. And we need to be doing the same thing with our own SEL, and to practice it. And so encourage you to continue your learning beyond these webinars, and we look forward to meeting with you all again. So just a reminder, next session isn't next week because we're going to be into Remembrance Day. So November 18th, we're going to be discussing relationship skills. And so I want a personal thank you out to Stacy for taking time out of her busy day. Great to have somebody else that shares a passion for SEL. And I thank you all for joining in, and look forward to seeing you all again and continuing on this journey together.
Thanks, everyone.